Hello, this is Griff, and I'm in Humboldt Redwood State Park. So we're gonna go for a walk, and I'm gonna answer a question that I was asked by a guy named Travis on one of my previous Facebook Lives, and then I've been asked by people before, and that is, what good are ticks? So here in Humboldt Redwood State Park, we have old growth. Lots of old growth redwood trees. Okay, it's old growth. A lot of it is old growth forest. Now, in an old growth forest, there isn't a lot of ticks. So ticks hang out in. Oh, hello, Braid. If that's how you pronounce your name, Braid and Sandra. How's it going? So in an old growth forest, there's not a lot of ticks. So we're going to go to Ecotone. Some of you may remember from previous Facebook Lives that there are a thing called ecotones. So ecotones are a combination, well, it's where two habitats or ecosystems meet. So let's look down here. There's a riparian, there's a creek right there and a bunch of trees that fall into it. It's kind of pretty. But we're going to ecotone. So we're going to the mixing of old growth redwood and riparian forest. Riparian means riverside in this case. And it's dominated right here by maples. So pretty soon you're going to see less and less redwoods. These big trees right here are all redwoods. You're going to see less and less redwoods and more maples. And those are maples. Those light green, big broadleaf trees back there are maples. And in this ecotone is where you can find ticks. Now, the tick that we're mostly going to focus on today, this is not going to be your typical tick tock. Oh, tick tock. Did I really say that? That was kind of cool. All right, so this is not your normal TikTok. So this is a black-legged tick. This is the one that's most responsible for the Lyme's disease. Okay? We're not going to talk about how to prevent it and how to recognize it. That's going to be in a future Facebook Live where I'm going to talk about like best practices when you're in the park to keep ticks and yellow jackets and mosquitoes off you and whatever else safety things we need to cover. But that's not what this talk about. This talk is about what good are ticks. Okay? So, you know what? When Travis asked me that question, and when people have asked me that question before, I have to think about it really hard because I've had so many ticks in me that it's hard for me to go, oh, well, there's lots of great things about ticks. No, I'm always like, I've been bit so many times. I've had to have a doctor remove one because it was so deep and I swelled up around it and couldn't reach it. It was terrible. So ticks aren't very popular. I've never heard anybody go, don't you think ticks are really cute? I've never heard anybody go, ticks are my favorite animal. And when I was like 18, 19, 20, and my friends and I used to sit around and do things and talk about what our spiritual animal was, it was always like eagle and wolf and grizzly bear. And no one was all, mine spiritual animal is ticks. No one ever did that. So we don't like them very much. In fact, if humans had a vote for one animal to go extinct, ticks would probably be up there, ticks and mosquitoes, because they're vectors of zoonotic diseases. So vectors mean something that transfers, okay? Zoonotic diseases are diseases from animals. So I talked about zoonotic diseases like a month or so ago, but zoonotic diseases are like rabies and AIDS and Ebola and probably all the coronaviruses. So the most nefarious of the tick-borne zoonotic diseases in the United States is Lyme's disease. So I'm not avoiding the original question, okay? The original question is, what good is ticks? And so ticks are an important food source. Think about what do you think probably eats ticks? Hello, Janet. So here we are going through the ecotones. We're leaving. So here's some redwoods, okay? But now we're also starting to see some maples, ecotone. So this is where ticks would really start to show up, is in this ecotone. Even more so the further we get into the riparian area. So this is like the last big redwood right here. And now we're really starting to see some like herbaceous green plants. And this is where your herbivores like deer would come and rabbits and stuff. And those are favorite dinner plates, I guess, of ticks. So lots of things eat them. Ticks are like these little brown and red things that are on grass that lizards and birds and opossums eat. They're like the M&Ms of nature, if you will. And opossums are really good at getting them. I'm sure a lot of you've heard it, and I've read a couple articles about it where opossums will like walk through someplace like this, and they'll get covered in ticks, and then they'll lay down, and they're really flexible. They can do like yoga really good, and they'll be all like getting all the ticks. They'll just be happy like someone just showered them in Cheetos or something. They'll just be eating all the ticks off. So we like opossums. Opossums are not scary, dangerous, even though they have tons and tons of teeth. I think they have the most teeth out of the mammals. Double check that. But they can look really intimidating, but they're not. They're just little tick eaters and super cute. So this is a great place for ticks, okay? Great place for ticks. Now, there is some animals that can really control ticks, not by eating the ticks, but by eating their hosts. So rodent-eating snakes are, wherever there's lots of rodent-eating snakes, there's less Lyme's disease. So tell your neighbors to stop killing snakes, because you'd rather get bit by a gopher snake, which wouldn't even hurt. I've been bit by a huge 6-foot-long gopher snake. It did not hurt, didn't even break my skin, okay? They just look scary because snakes don't have any eyelids, so they're always like this. I mean, if you walked outside and you were like, everybody would be afraid of you too, okay? So gopher snakes and those snakes, they eat rodents, and therefore there's less Lyme's disease. Trust me, you'd rather get bit by a 6-foot-long gopher snake than get bit by a tick, for real, okay? So let them do their job. Stop killing snakes. Sorry, was that too much? Anyways, ticks can't fly, they can't run, they can't hop. So I often see people like, tick hopped on me, and they start freaking out. No, ticks don't hop. They're arachnids, and they're very, very slow. So if you killed something on you that hopped, then that's unjust homicide. You just killed something that didn't need to die. All right, so this is good tick habitat right here. So let's park right here until the mosquitoes smell my breath and come here, and I'm serious about that. The mosquitoes are drawn to our respiration, our carbon monoxide, dioxide that we exhale. They love it, and that's how they find us, if you're wondering how they always find us. So there's other things that eat ticks. If you have a farm and you're worried about your animals getting ticks, then you should invest in getting some guinea fowl. Have you ever seen a guinea fowl before? That's a guinea fowl. Aren't they cute? Like, I seriously want these because I want to give it a kiss on that little horn. Isn't that cute? Like, isn't that precious? You guys are like not convinced. You kiss that horn, you'd be like, oh, what's that on my lip? But guinea fowl are apparently really good at eating ticks, okay? So keep that in mind, okay? They might not be the cutest bird in the world, but they do a good job at eating ticks. So snakes, amphibians, birds, they all eat ticks. So ticks provide food. Another good thing about ticks is they actually spread diseases that weed out this sick and bad genetic animals. So they help control population explosion, especially like with all the removal of mountain lions and wolves from lots of parts of the United States. Like sometimes the deer and some other populations start to explode, and they're then controlled by diseases. So the ticks are really good at helping control populations. So I'm going to talk next about how we can understand them a little bit better. So the reason why ticks give people the heebie-jeebies, like go up to your friend sometime and be like, oh, I think I see a tick on your neck. Watch them freak out. Don't really do that. That'd be messed up. But I've really seen ticks on people's necks before, and I've been like, oh, you got a tick on your neck. And people are like, and they start freaking out. So don't do that. And you can just pull it off. They're not going to like real fast bite you. You can just pull it off and you can flick it. But we're going to talk about how to prevent ticks and stuff later. The reason why I'm touching my face so much, just so you know, is that there's mosquitoes all around me right now. I don't know if you guys can see them on the camera. So if ticks are so slow, and they're a type of arachnid, and they're obligate hemophages. Does you know what obligate hemophages mean? Hemophages, obligate, it means they have to drink blood. They're like vampires. They have to drink blood to survive. So they're very slow moving. They have 8 legs after their larva stage. Their larva stage, they have 6, and then when they go to nymph, they have 8. And they are all over the place. Wherever there's humid, damp environments, the ticks are probably going to exist. And how do they get around if they're so slow? Well, when an animal migrates and it has a tick in it, it takes the tick with it. And so birds fly ticks over lakes and seas and stuff. So ticks can get around. They can get around on your cat and dog. You move across country, you're going to bring some ticks with you. And we'll talk about in a future live, I'll talk about why there's so much more Lyme's disease in the East Coast and the West Coast, because that's a fascinating talk too, but would take too much time. So ticks are all around the world, and they've been here for a really long time. In fact, they've been on the planet longer than redwood trees have. Okay? So the way we know this is they have been found in fossils. So this is a fossilized amber, and that feather right there, can you tell that's a feather? That's a dinosaur feather from a little tiny hummingbird-sized dinosaur, and that little box right there is a tick. Okay, so we found fossilized ticks with dinosaur feathers. Fascinating, super fascinating. And no, you can't get the blood out of there and do your own Jurassic Park. But isn't that fascinating? Ticks have been here for a long time. They are tough, tough, tough little guys. And you can get some respect for them and some appreciation. You're like, no, I really can't. But if you know a little bit about their life cycle. So let's talk about their life cycle. This is a terrible print job, but so ticks usually are rarely ever born with Lyme's disease. They get it from mice. That's why we love rodent-eating snakes and owls and hawks, and we don't like rat poison, because rat poison will kill our owls and hawks, and then the mouse population will bounce back faster than them, and then we'll just have more Lyme's disease. So stop using rodenticides, please. Okay? Sorry, was that condescending? I didn't mean to be condescending. Just stop using rat poisons. Okay. Anyways, so they bite the mice and they get the Lyme's disease, okay, in their larval stage. And in their larval stage, they'll be way down here. So just another thing on rat poisons is it bioaccumulates. And so when a owl eats a poison rat, it dies. And so once we no longer have predators of mice, the mice population rebounds, and then we have more Lyme's disease. So really just let nature do their job. Or get some mouse traps, some T-Rex mouse traps. So the larval stage will be really low right here because they're trying to bite mice, as you saw in that diagram. So they'll be way down here, and they'll crawl on the little mice. The mouse will be infected with Lyme's disease. They'll get on the mouse, and then they'll drop off for the winter, and they'll get in the leaves, and they'll overwinter in the leaves. And then they'll come back in the spring, and they'll climb up to a possum, mouse, rabbit height, okay? So then they'll be out here, and they do this thing called questing. So they put as nymphs, they put their, 6 of their legs holding on to the grass, or 4 of their legs holding the grass, and they do this thing called questing, and they'll quest. So they'll be on the tip of the grass, okay, questing. And it'll be about, up to your calf or your knee when they're in the larval stage. Okay, it'll be pretty low, depending on what's available for them to climb up. And they'll be questing. When something walks by, they have these little hook feet, and they'll hook onto you, and they'll find some place. They really can't see or anything, so they go by warmth and light, and they'll find some dark place with thin skin, like the back of your neck or the inside of your crotch, unfortunately. And then they'll lodge themselves and drink your blood, or the rabbit's blood, or the opossum if they don't get eaten. And then they go on to something larger, and now they quest higher. So at the nymphal stage, they'll be like on these sedges here. They look like grasses, but they're actually sedges. And then at the adult stage, they want to get on a big animal, because on the big animal, they'll actually mate. So they want to get on a deer where they can meet other ticks and have a party and mate and stuff. So they'll be like this high. So like waist high, shoulder high, like deer height. Okay? So they'll be deer height, and they'll be questing, and a deer walk by, and they'll get on the poor little deer, and they'll give the deer Lyme's disease, or the deer will give them Lyme's disease. We'll go back and forth. And that's how that happens. So when you walk through the forest, before you get in your car, you want to do a tick check. But we'll talk more about that in a future live. What I want to talk about now is, on my personal Facebook, I talk about fake news a lot, because fake news, we all get taken by fake news, because whenever something confirms what we suspect or we want to believe, we don't double check, we don't fact check it. We just share it, especially on Facebook. You're like, share, oh yeah, that reaffirms my belief system. And you don't look to see that it was like some crazy website, or the grammar was really bad, or there was actually no evidence or whatever. You don't care, because it makes you feel affirmed, okay? Everybody likes to feel affirmed, confirmed, whatever. So this was going around, and they're like, look at these tick eggs. They're big as berries. Look at them. These tick eggs. Those are not tick eggs. This one, I couldn't believe how long this was on Facebook being passed around. So those are actually toad eggs. And what probably happened is sometimes coyotes, foxes, or dogs eat too many toad eggs and they throw them up. So that's probably toad egg throw up. Ooh. Tick eggs are tiny because ticks are tiny. And there's lots of different kinds of ticks and they're all small. And so they're really, really small eggs and they're yellow and brown. They're usually on some grass or something like that. So that was some interesting fake news. Now we're going to talk about today's Endangered Species Day. Happy Endangered Species Day. We're going to talk about an animal that wish it would not have gone extinct before 1972. 1972 is when the Endangered Species Act was passed. But the passenger pigeon, and I have a picture of it. The passenger pigeon was the most numerous bird in the United States. They think it might have been the most numerous bird in the world. There was 4 billion of them in the United States. Okay? That's almost as many people as there is today. So the passenger pigeon, they were commercially hunted to death. They were hunted for food and just for target practice. Think clay pigeons. And they went extinct in 1914. And after they went extinct, the cases of Lyme's disease skyrocketed. So a scientist named Dave Blockstein wanted to know what the correlation was. And was correlation causation? Not necessarily, but he wanted to look into it. So what he found was that pigeons traveled in huge flocks, especially around breeding time. And so when 100 million pigeons stopped and ate the acorns and the nuts in the forest, is what they ate, they would take them all and there wouldn't be any left over. And so the mice would starve to death. And therefore the cases of, or the prevalence of Lyme's disease would be greatly reduced because no food, no mice, no Lyme's disease. And then once we killed all the passenger pigeons, there was acorns everywhere. And then we removed the predators, the wolves and the mountain lions and grizzly bears, especially on the East Coast. And so we got more deer, more mice, more Lyme's disease. So now we have ticks everywhere with Lyme's disease. And if we could have not let the passenger pigeon go extinct, we might not have the cases of Lyme's disease today. I don't know how well we would have done with passenger pigeons because passenger pigeons would have wiped out our crops. And so I have a feeling that people would probably have been killing them anyways and they might not have made it. But who knows? But there's a really good article on that if you want to check it out. Passenger pigeon, fascinating bird. We have a very close relative. The closest relative of the passenger pigeon is the bandtail pigeon, and it actually lives in Humboldt Redwood State Park. So I opened this up talking about like how if humans had a chance to vote something to go extinct, it would probably be ticks. But now you know they are good for food, and they're good for population control of animals. And if all the animals had a vote and what they wish would go extinct, who do you think the animals would vote which animal would go extinct? They'd probably vote that we went extinct because most of the endangered species today are because of us. 500 species and subspecies of animal and plants have gone extinct since pilgrims landed on Plymouth Rock within the United States. 500 species in the United States. And we have thousands of endangered species and threatened species today. So Sunday at 3:30, I'll be talking about endangered species that are in Humboldt Redwood State Park and how we're helping them. And today's Endangered Species Day, so if you could maybe go to Endangered Species Coalition or National Wildlife Federation or Wildlife Guardians or Project Coyote and find some group that's really trying to help wildlife that you can support. They really, really need your support, especially now. So please, financially volunteer, help them out, support parks. We protect this habitat for endangered species. And when you come out and visit parks and you fall in love with them and you want to support us and Humboldt Redwood Interpretive Association, Save the Redwood League and state parks, you're helping to protect endangered species. So thank you, California State Parks, for helping to protect endangered species. And happy endangered species to you guys. Please educate yourself as much as possible and join me, and I'll tell you how to help endangered species next Sunday that are in our park. And I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend.